Hello, my name is Xiang Anthony Chen from UCLA HCI Research. Today I want to present this work called HCI Papers, Cite HCI Papers, increasingly so. I think we can all agree that HCI is and should be interdisciplinary. But how do we make sure of that? I think we can ask ourselves two questions. First, are we taking interdisciplinary approaches in conducting our HCI research? And second, does our HCI research have interdisciplinary impact? This paper focuses on attempting to answer the second question. While there are many ways to measure impact, this paper focuses on citations. How is an HCI paper being cited by other disciplines? In order to measure that, we have to somehow divide citations between HCI and non-HCI venues. Unfortunately, there is no official categorization of what is and is not an HCI venue for publication. So we have to artificially create a list of core HCI venues, which come from these two sources: the SIGCHI co-sponsored conferences on the official websites, and Google Scholar's top publications under the engineering and computer science HCI category. Together, we compile this list of core HCI venues. Of course, this list is non-exhaustive. Anything that's not on this list might still be HCI related. This list only serves to approximate the boundary between HCI and non-HCI venues. Next, we have to think about how we can get citation information of HCI papers. We use Cashiap-Toddy's What the HCI Cite that provides DOI data of CHI, UIST, and CSCW between 2010 and 2020. Of course, it's entirely possible to use other means to obtain other HCI venues publication data, such as crawling the HCM digital library. Then, given these papers' DOI information, we use the citation chaser tool. For each paper's DOI, this tool returns a list of other papers that's cited. Of course, citation is always changing. The data we collected was in January 2023. All right, now that with the data set, we're ready to conduct some analysis. Remember, our HCI papers only consist of CHI, UIST, and CSCW between 2010 and 2020. For each of these papers, and for each of the paper P that cited that HCI paper, we parse P's publishing venue to see if that falls in one of our core HCI venue using simple keyword matching, which allows us to estimate how much the HCI paper has been cited by other disciplines. We have a name for this measurement called X-index, which refers to the percentage of HCI paper citations coming from non-HCI disciplines. So what did we find? First, we found that more recently published HCI papers were cited less outside of the core HCI venues. Looking at these trends, you might question, well, maybe it's not fair to compare a 2010 and a 2015 papers, because the 2010 paper has more time to accumulate citations, and the 2015 paper simply doesn't have enough time to reach to other disciplines. Okay, taking that into consideration, we now only count citations that occurred in the first 5 years after publications, which inevitably gave us less data because our dataset was constructed in January 2023, so we only have information up to 2017 if we only consider the first 5 years after publications. But still, the trends shown in this graph remain pretty much the same as before. Still, more recently published HCI papers were cited less outside of the core HCI venues. We also saw that among all HCI papers cited in a given year, the earlier published papers were cited more by non-HCI venues. What does this mean? Let's look at this year, 2020. For all the CHI papers cited in this year, CHI 2010 has the highest X index, followed by CHI 2019 and CHI 2015. The earliest published papers were cited more by non-HCI venues in this particular year. If we look at other venues, UIST and CSCW, we can see similar trends. Finally, we also saw that more recently, HCI papers seem less likely to be cited by papers outside the core HCI venues. For example, in 2015, 70% of papers that cited CHI papers were not in the core HCI venues. However, this number became 55% in 2020. Okay, given these findings, you might wonder, what are the alternative interpretations? First, maybe the core HCI venues might have become more interdisciplinary over the years. That means being cited by these HCI venues might still indicate some interdisciplinary impact. Another interpretation could be that HCI venues themselves have been growing much faster. So the overall ratio might still decrease if the denominator, HCI plus non-HCI citations, is increasing faster than the numerator alone. Lastly, without comparison to other domains' interdisciplinary impact, we don't know if HCI is doing good or bad, or about the same. In order to answer that or verify this assumption, we have to perform more analysis, such as looking at if, say, CVPR has reached a certain interdisciplinary impact over the years. In conclusion, our analysis of CHI, UIST, and CSCW papers from 2010 to 2020 show that HCI papers cite HCI papers, increasingly so. Although it's perfectly normal for a field to cite each other's papers, as an interdisciplinary field, HCI should strive for more impact across disciplinary boundaries. I hope these findings, rather than providing pessimisms, can offer us motivations to push us to pursue more cross-disciplinary research in HCI. Thank you.